So, it seems like we've seen the back of Boris Johnson, at least for now, and with the exception of some deluded supporters like Rees-Mogg, Nadine Dorries, the Tory party are doing their best to distance themselves from him and send a message that we've all moved on. So I think it's only fair to look back and do a kind of tribute. And after watching this, I'd strongly recommend you head over to YouTube, look up Led by Donkeys, and look at their video that covers his path to power. The influence of Alexander Boris the Pfeffel, corrupt, lying bastard Johnson, to give him his full name, in fucking up the country is immeasurable. So let's break it down. First, the B word, Brexit, which got him into power. Apparently, Boris had two letters prepared, one supporting Brexit and one against it. He chose to issue the one he thought would benefit him most personally, nothing to do with what was best for the country. He signed an agreement he hadn't read, but he knew wouldn't work and would split the UK. He promised a trade deal with the US was imminent, and it now looks like it will never happen. He promised on a bloody great big bus that we'd have an extra £350 million a week for the NHS, which hasn't materialised. He promised to take back control of our borders, whatever that was meant to mean, which he's patiently failed to do, whatever way you look at it. Second, the COVID pandemic. His supporters tell us he got it right, even though he locked down late, partied at Downing Street and Chequers while we couldn't even visit family and friends, even the ones that were dying, and oversaw the wasting of billions on failed PPE, failed track and trace, and dodgy contracts to Tory donors and friends. He was also the one who disbanded the pandemic response team just 6 months before the outbreak, and then failed to turn up to 5 emergency Cobra meetings. That's how seriously he took it. Oh, and he was happy to let the bodies pile high. And without wanting to sound like a conspiracy theorist, I can't believe that in all his time in hospital, supposedly near death, there's not a single photo or paper record been released. The Ukraine war is also cited by his supporters as something he got right. And I suppose it is if getting it right means trying to look like Winston Churchill and using photo opportunities to get you out of the UK when there are difficult questions to answer. Any Prime Minister would probably have done the same as him with the Ukraine situation. He just happened to be there to take credit. Next on to Partygate. You know that thing he denied all knowledge of? Until it was proved he attended, and then he still lied about it, even to a committee that he set up and who he went on to criticise when they reported what we all knew, that he's a lying bastard incapable of telling the truth. But that's all in the past, apparently. Like the time he put his brother, as well as the son of a KGB agent, into the House of Lords. Speaking of which, how about the honours list he had when he left office? It included an advisor called Charlotte Owen, who's aged just 29, which leads to three questions: hand, blow, or having dirt on him. It also included Martin Reynolds, the organiser of the party, in the recently unearthed Partygate video, Key Alloy, Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Guto Harry, who was an advisor who subsequently went on to Question Time to defend Boris. His defence was that the suspension of Johnson from Parliament would deprive him of a living. So let's look at that in more detail. After resigning as Prime Minister, while still supposedly representing his constituents as an MP, Boris travelled the world giving talks that earned him around £5 million, while failing to vote almost 190 times in Parliament. And he's recently been given a job as a columnist on the Daily Mail that will earn him about £1 million. He'll get by, I'm sure, especially as he'll also be able to claim £115,000 a year for life as an ex-PM, while the population is struggling, or worse, for years if not generations, thanks to his incompetence. It makes my piss boil. But one small important example of his lies are the ridiculous clips of him jogging to and from his office and home. There's plenty of video and photo evidence that he's just driven to a point nearby and jogs from the car past the waiting compliant media. Hopefully this will be the end of someone who, despite he wants us to think, is the opposite of patriotic, an entitled, self-serving, lying fucker who doesn't know what truth and integrity are and really doesn't care as long as he gets what he wants. The trouble for us is he'll always have money, but what he really wants is revenge on Rishi Sunak, and he won't care if he takes the country down to get it.